Hello, good evening, and welcome to another live stream. It is Sunday evening, and yeah, we're back to evenings. It's the light outside. Summer's awesome. So I'm tonight, hopefully, gonna start blocking out the custom animation for Clive. I put a community post up earlier on at the end, or toward the end of the game. There's a bit of custom animation that needs to be set up where he trips and falls through a skylight. I talked a bit about it on the last live stream, and that is kind of what I'm going to crack on with tonight, hopefully. So I'll go through the process that I need to follow to make sure that that all lines up. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be concentrating on, at least making a decent dent in tonight. I haven't done a huge amount since last week, been a busy week, so I some little bits just to, I guess, continue on from last week. I'm going to jump into a sprite and show a little bit of some of the custodians of carpet that I set up last week. I forgot to put a poll on, as I was going to put a poll on to get some name ideas. I will do that, but I just wanted to get a couple of other bits of the graphics done of those particular characters before I stuck a poll out there of thinking of some names for them, because we had some good suggestions on the live chat last week, but it'd be good to collect up a few more of them before giving these some names, and we'll get the community to help name these characters. So I'll flip over into a sprite just to show a couple of the things that I carried on with. So I was setting up at the time, those who were on the live stream or have since watched it back, these characters who are kind of waist deep in a ball pool at the time that this particular scene happens. And there are three characters who are all wearing these like wraparound carpet masks. These are the custodians of carpet. They are carpet enthusiasts who have been kind of basically making Clive's life hell. This has made for three different characters that were needed for this particular scene. They all wear the same masks, so I've been setting up just basic kind of talk animations where it kind of goes up and down. Obviously the mouth isn't going to move on the mask because it's just a slit in a bit of carpet, but there's some like head bobs here, and depending on which character is selected, so there's three different character bits here. So if I put all the grey characters bits on, then it doesn't look much different, but you see the top of their heads and things like that. If I take the mask off, these were the characters that I was designing last stream. So if you're interested in that, have a look at the previous live stream to this one. So that's kind of the ringleader, if you like, the leader of the cult. This is another guy, and then the final guy is this one with the tank top on. So I've got them all set up in Airsprite in the one document, because I need to do their kind of talk animations, and they do some head turns to each other when they're wearing their masks. Probably some when they're not wearing the masks as well. So I've just been setting up some tagged animations here. So there's, when they've got the mask on, there's this just like up and down movement of the head, or the mask. I also need to move their head up and down for each one. So that needs to be done. And then there's these turns of the mask as well. So if I go back to, so this is when they're still wearing the mask. Wrong head. That guy, turn that one on. So there's like a little turn, and you just see it reveals his ear. The eyes come down a bit. You see the top of the head move. It's just like a wrapped around carpet sample, as you do. So he turns to the left there. And then we've got a turn to the right there, so that they can kind of look at you and then look at each other, depending on what's happening. So these are just little 3-frame animations that will be part of that, just to add to the kind of pacing of the humour when they're talking. And then there's a talk animation for each of them, where they've pushed the mask up onto the top of their head. So you can actually see who they are. So they've just got these talk animations as well. I still need to do the mouth bits and other talk bits for the two characters. But as a reminder, these I was setting this file up, this removal of the masks. So each one of them has got one where they kind of push the mask back and reveal themselves, and there's one of them for each character as well, and they're all set up in one file so I could reuse this animation. So that was in the last live stream jacket there, just setting that up so that they all kind of basically shared some animation, so I didn't have to keep on drawing the same action for all three people. So that's all set up. Haven't exported it all yet, but then I realised they were going to need talk animations and mask on and mask off animations and turns and things like that. So I got some of that set up after the live stream last time, or sometime during the week. So tonight's main task is working on this custom trip animation. And I'm certainly not going to get it all drawn tonight, but I want to set up all of the basics for it. Good evening, Mike. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Hope you're all right. Hope you've had a nice week. And hope you've had some nice weather, because if you're based in the UK like I am, it's actually been nice and sunny. Been out with the dogs today. Sunday lunch out in the countryside, which is a rarity. So yeah, this stuff I'm going to leave that for now tonight and move on to this setup of this particular bit of animation. So just as a reminder, what I'm doing, if I click play on here, it's this particular scene. I talked about it last week, but then swapped over to doing the masked men. So some of this needs set up yet, the cutscene for it, but ultimately at the end of this cutscene, Clive walks from the ventilation unit or from this skylight. I haven't decided which bit where he's going to walk from yet, but he's heading in this direction towards this one when he trips here and falls through this skylight. So what I need to do is set up a custom animation and animate it all for him walking to here, tripping just as he gets to this corner and falling through. And that's going to involve, within Adventure Creator, setting up a cutscene that swaps out his standard walk animation just at the right moment, at the right position for this custom trip. I've done a similar thing in another scene earlier on in the game where he walks to a point on the screen and then pulls out a catapult to take a shot with a catapult. So similar technique to that, but I never went through how I kind of go about setting that up. So I thought I would do that this evening, because anyone else who's using Adventure Creator, who's thinking of making a point and click game like this is a really useful, or certainly I found a really useful technique for getting this as accurate as you can. So what I have done ready is I've got this Clive roof trip thing set up, and I'm just going to talk through what I did there. If I just go back, all I took is his regular walk cycle. So his regular walk cycle sprite file is what, 32 pixels by 64 or something. Let's have a look. Find it. Can't find it. Sprite size. Yeah, 32 by 64. All of his walks and ducks and grabs and all that fit into that space. But in order for him to trip and fall forwards and like move across the scene as he does that with some momentum, I'm going to need a much wider sprite. So just for kind of helping out people understand the process, these are the kind of things I'm going to go through, or the steps I'm going to have to go through to get this right. So first of all, kind of determining the pixel size of Clive in the Unity scene. And what I mean by that is this, when it's in play mode here, this sprite is being scaled based on where he is in the scene. So he's much smaller at the back of the scene than he is when he's right at the front of the scene. So that means that when I animate this transition of him like tripping, I want to make sure that where he kind of puts his hands out and where he's going to end up kind of going through, I don't overshoot the skylight or come just in front of the skylight, or I just need to get that right. So I need to kind of take this background, bring it into a sprite, but bring it in at a size that matches his scaled sprite size. So he's not this big, he's kind of this big when he's over there. So the way I do that is I run this full screen. I make sure that I'm running it at 1920 by 1080. So the actual kind of full scale of the game, if you like, so that this isn't being scaled in any way. There's a scaling factor there. I make sure that it's at one scale, and then I take a screen grab of this just with the snipping tool in Windows, so I can see Clive's relative size to the skylight when he's stood there. So I did that, took a screen grab of it, and then basically made this sprite a bit wider just by doing like sprite canvas size and setting the canvas size. Again, like a base 64 one, so 128 pixels across. I then pasted in that backplate from there, and then scaled that backplate so that the Clive in the screenshot is the same, or almost the same, as close as you can get to the Clive in this sprite file. And then what that's going to mean is that when he gets scaled to fit, I know that he's going to, when I animate him here, I can use the position of the window to get that right. So that's kind of the first step, which is determine the Unity scene size and how big he is in it, set up the sprite document to match so that it's going to look right. I'm then going to block out a basic trip animation. It's not going to be good, the animation to begin with, because it's going to be quite complex. A human walking, tripping, falling. But I'll just block it out, the basics, so I can get a sense of the pace, how fast the trip is, how quickly he disappears through the window. Bring that really kind of crappy animation into Unity as a new clip. Then write the cutscene logic for him to walk across, and then us to swap from his walking animation to that custom trip animation, and then check the alignment so that we can kind of get it so that it's pretty seamless between the walk and then him suddenly transitioning to this fall. And I'm ultimately trying to prove that method, that that's going to work, before I spend loads of time working on a full animation of him. Because if it doesn't look right, or I can't get it to look kind of seamless, that walk transition, then I'll have to do it a different way. The other way that I could do it is ultimately to make a much bigger sprite and include the place he's walking from, so the other skylight or that this ventilation unit, and make a sprite that's that big. And basically, once he's finished his little dialogue by that, don't have him use a walk animation at all. Actually animate him across the screen as a sprite and have the trip as part of it. But I don't think that'll look as good, personally. I think it will be obvious that it's not his normal walk cycle, and I kind of want it to be his normal walk cycle at the pace that it's always been in the game, and his scaling will change as he comes forward. And then it'll be even more of a surprise when he trips, and a surprise for the player when he trips and suddenly this custom animation plays. So that's what I'm gonna try and get set up. So I think I've got this to the kind of right scale. He looks about right. The top of his head's where the top of his head is. His shoes are 1 pixel off pretty much, and that's because like his foot lifts. So I think we're at about the right place where that would start. So this backdrop, I just need to extend that out across it. I think I'm going to start, and this is one of the other things, I don't know which sprite is going to be active by the time he gets to there. There's probably a way of working it out, but you'll see when he walks, it's kind of dependent on the distance that he's travelled. So if he is starting from over here and he's going to walk to a point about there-ish, I just want it to to transition to this other bit, and I don't know which leg he's going to be on or anything, so it shouldn't matter. It should look all right, but this is why I don't want to spend ages animating it beforehand. So let's get this extended. After the debacle last week about these linked sprites, I had a look for the best way to do it. It suggests you click and drag with your left button over all of the frames that you want linked, and then right click and go link cells, and then it gives you an expanded one. I think the problem is if you create a new frame, oh, it does, yeah, it keeps on expanding it, and that's just so the background stays there for this whole bit of animation. So I think what I'm going to do is this one where he's striding, that is, I suppose, the most different to the other frames in there. What I want to do is have one where his foot's on the floor so he can kind of trip from that position. So I think I'm going to use that one where he's about to lift his other leg. So his feet are quite close together. And then if it's one of the other frames, that one, or maybe even that one, so long as it isn't that one where he's got his legs wide apart, it's unlikely to register with the user that it's jumped a frame. So I'm going to copy that frame at the start where his feet are quite close together. I'm going to delete all of them. So we've kind of got his starting frame. Oh, actually, what might be a good idea? Let's undo that. I'm kind of thinking on the fly, as usual. I think we might take over. We could blend that walk so he kind of steps in from there. Oh, maybe want to be a bit further back for that. Let's move that across a bit. Doesn't really matter that we've got a bit of spare there, because what I'm thinking is if he's moving on here, so if that first frame is there, this green box, by the way, is one of them slice areas. I want to remove that because it's annoying me a bit. Where's that slices? No, that's the picker. Slice tool. Just delete that slice. It's not in my vision. Give that a save. The colouring and everything as well. This is another reason why having that sprite swap out, it should get lit by the lights and everything that are in the Unity scene. So what I'm going to want to do is when I'm in Unity, he wants to swap position about there. We'll maybe take that frame. So he's walking, and then that frame where he, whoops, lock that background layer. Big movement that to there. So let's pull him back a bit. And I think this is where he's going to trip. So that'll give me kind of a good enough distance for him to fall. So let's delete all of those frames from there. And that's where the kind of custom bit's going to take over. So I'm hoping that I can swap this out, position the anchor point exactly where his feet are, the same as his walk animation, and then it will seamlessly transition to that, where you basically get a couple of frames of his walk and then he trips. And if it doesn't work, I'll basically go from this fourth frame where his trip works. So it gives me a little bit to play with to see if I can smooth that out later on. So that's where his trip's going to happen. As I say, I'm not gonna draw all of this now because it's going to be a complex bit of animation, I think. So, in a general trip, if you stub your toe and you're moving forwards, then your kind of head goes back, your leg will stop. In like a cartoon style, I think his head will go back, his arms will go back. He'll try and reach forward to break his fall, and then he'll go through the window. So he's going to come up off the floor briefly to do this, and it's going to be quick. So it's not going to be a huge amount of frames, I don't think. We're going to have this initial trip, and I might just draw it. I might just draw it as like a red outline for now. So his head is going to kind of tilt. I wonder if we just take a frame of that. Just for now. So that's where he's going to stub. And just put the onion skin on. And it wants to be pretty quick, so his kind of head would end up there, I think. His arm maybe come forward. So your arms kind of naturally reach out in front of you when you're falling like that. That foot that got stubbed should kind of stay stubbed, like that's got stuck. So this is going to look terrible on the first instance. It's going to take, I'll probably not do it on a live stream, but because it's going to just take a long time to get right, I think. Sometimes wonder whether that onion skin I can't get my cursor on the onion skin. It's gone the wrong way now. Where's the onion skin settings? Reset the onion skin. Current layer, yeah, that's all fine. It's showing the next frame rather than the previous frame. Why is that? It's like I can't get close enough. The cursor won't get close enough to the edge of it. Right, so there it is, got it. There we go. So we want this to be pretty quick. So just sketching in that. His back leg's going to come up. That other leg now will have left the floor. His other arm would come up too. And then that whole frame maybe would move just a little bit further because we're looking at where his toe was. Like he needs to be travelling forward. Yeah, that's fine for now. So next one, we kind of want him to hunch a bit. We don't want it to overshoot. And I mean, this edge here, if I just stick a new layer in there, actually, this might be helpful. Just stick a line down that edge, because we can use that for him to disappear behind effectively. So the other way of doing that, of course, I could get the marquee tool, not marquee, I get this lasso tool, that one. Lasso, select all of that. Copy it from there, paste it on the layer above, that to linked. I can see that hasn't worked. Why did that not copy? Copy that. What is going on? So select that. Copy from there. Paste. Let's do it again. I don't know why it's copying the whole of that frame. Everyone can clearly see I'm marking selection, copying it, pasting it onto that frame, and it's not doing it. Pasting the whole frame. Probably something to do with these linked frames again that have been causing me all manner of problems. So anyway, let's do it this way instead. Then now we've got a non-linked frame. Oh, I know why. Doesn't really matter. Let's do it this way. Cut that down there. That's not what I wanted to happen. Is the weird selection tools that I cannot get used to. Copy, paste. That's what I was after. If I delete that layer, I just wanted that little overlay there, just to kind of help me as I come to draw this properly and spend time actually drawing the detail of the animation. That when he goes behind there, it'll kind of cut off where it'll show me exactly where I need to draw him to, and then I can use that as a mask to just cut the stuff off, and it should look right in Unity, hopefully, if it's lined up correctly. So on here, look that. I kind of want him tipping quite a lot at this point. So it's kind of back leg, front leg. Arms. The arm would be behind his head, somewhere like that. Because he kind of wants to be out of shot probably in another couple of frames, so thankfully that means there's not going to be a huge amount of drawing for me to do, but we we kind of need him disappearing now, so that back leg. And there you can see why I drew that, so I can kind of get a sense of when he's going to disappear out of sight. And maybe rotate him round a bit as well, so he's on this nice arc. And of course, with like weight and momentum, things like a human falling speed up, so the gap, like that initial gap between his two heads, is quite short, and then they get bigger. So like this bit is bigger between the frames, and the next bit should be even bigger if you imagine where his head is, because he's speeding up as he's disappearing. And I think actually this is possibly the last frame where you just see that back leg and his other leg, and that's maybe all you'll see as he disappears out of sight. These are obviously much bigger than his feet, but just so I can see the motion really. So let's have a look. Yeah, I mean that pace feels about right. And I still haven't decided whether we're going to have him smashing through the glass or drawing like one of them tipping windows, so it just tips back and then swings back, and then it could result in a bit of a comedy timing thing where it tips and then we just stay in this scene where it's going like rocking before then we cut to the scene of him falling in from inside. So okay, so we'll have a look, maybe we'll export that, obviously without the background layer and without that, and see if we can kind of, whether that lines up roughly, whether it looks okay. The advantage I think of maybe having the glass smashing is it might be able to hide a few sins if this angle isn't exactly right when it kind of comes into Unity. If I just add to there, fill that a little bit so you can kind of see where he is. In fact, what I might do, no I won't, I'll just leave it like that. I was gonna like block fill them so that we could just see the form a little bit better, but it'll certainly be useful, I think, to have that red line there so we can see whether it lines up. I mean, it's going to happen in a fraction of a second, so we don't need to worry that much about it. And what I'll do is I'll just delete out these bits, because they'll just trick our eye while we're testing it. It's like there's literally 2 frames where it's going to be overlapping, so that's just before he starts overlapping the edge. So let's get this exported. Okay, it looks all right to me. Let's save that. Let's export it as a sprite sheet. Just check we're getting this right. So we're doing by rows, full visible layer. We're we don't want any padding. We don't want to trim it or anything like that. I think that's all correct. And the size of it, it's important to, it was 128 by 64. So let's output that to the correct place. So my sprites, I suppose I better put it in the room that it's for. No, I'll put it in characters. Clive roof trip. Save. Export. Right, so we should have that ready to go into Unity. Let's bring that in. Oh, my sprite. Characters, Clive roof trip. And you'll remember from other live streams if you've been watching, I've got a little template up here, which will be set up completely wrong, but it's a sliced sprite sheet template. So I'm just going to apply that. And then I'm going to need to go to the sprite editor and set up the size of these, because my template is for like a 64 by 32. And we know that this is not that size. It's actually 128 by 64. The anchor point, it was set up to be halfway across a 32 width sprite. So quick maths, that would be 16 pixels across. And I want the anchor point to be in exactly the same place as his standard walk cycle, so that when it swaps out to this frame that we're looking at there, that this is in the center point of what his walk cycle animation would be in. So where it says custom pivot, rather than using normalized, I'm going to use exact. I'm going to put the pivot at 16 pixels. And when I click slice, what I should have on each of these is this little circle there. On every frame, the pivot is in the center point of where his walk cycle would have been. So like at the back of the frame here, because this sprite isn't going to move, we're going to stop it dead, hopefully, replace the sprite, his walk sprite, with this, have that play through immediately, and hopefully there'll be a little flicker between this frame and whatever frame he was on during his walk cycle, but this should happen quickly enough that you don't really notice it. That's the plan anyway, so let's click apply there. Hello Fritz Hugo, welcome to the stream from Twitch there, anyone who's wondering on YouTube who I'm talking to. Good to see you. So we're going to need to set up this as a new animation clip. Select all of these, right click and create an animation clip. We'll call it Clive Roof Trip. So what it's called. All of these, it automatically creates it next to these. I've got a My Anim Clips folder up there, which I've been trying to remember to drop stuff into to keep things tidy. But so Clive Roof Trip. So this is Clive's animator controller here with his walks, his talks, the carjack custom animation, reaching up to the hook is a custom, dropping the Hoover is a custom. So they've done quite a few custom ones before. So we're going to drag this in. No, I've been streaming, Fritz, Hugo. I've been streaming. There was a few Sundays I didn't, true, but I've managing to get one in a week usually, but sometimes on a Monday. So yeah, they've probably not been coming on the same time. I stream to Twitch and then it goes straight out to YouTube with a couple of seconds delay. But the YouTube channel if you're on YouTube, Fritz Hugo, then that I usually do a notification of when the stream is that goes out on there. I'm not au fait with Twitch at all. I barely used it at all. When I first set up this channel, I thought I would do it that way around, but yeah, so I don't even know how to put notifications out on Twitch that there's a stream happening. Yes, so it's best to subscribe and follow on YouTube, because that's the best way to get notifications for it. So this roof trip clip, we want to make sure that that isn't looping, because we don't want it to loop back around to the start, so that's fine. Its default is not looping. That is the name of the clip that we're going to play. What I need to do then is set up the cutscene. All right, yes, I understand that. Yeah, I use a what's it even called? I forgot what it's called. Streamer bot that is pulling all the chat from Twitch and YouTube into one chat for me at the side. But yeah, all the videos are there. Fritz, this is live stream 33 possibly. So yeah, I've maybe missed one or two. I had a bit of a holiday, but there's only ever maybe a couple that I haven't managed to do weekly. So there's been quite a lot of stuff, lots of different scenes done. You might be joining here on the rooftop scene and thinking, oh, he hasn't done anything since then, but we've been around lots of other scenes, some other characters. A whole live stream on the music. I did one a few weeks back with some custom music, playing the piano and the guitar, and writing some jingles for the carpet shop and things like that. So that was a bit different. I think that was maybe 3 streams ago, maybe live stream 30, something like that. But yeah, have a look back through YouTube. I think they all get captured on Twitch as well to watch back later on. But yeah, have a look. So we're going to set up. How am I going to do this? What's the best way? Let's just create a cutscene. Let's just call this. Let's just call it trip, because I'll remember what that is. A very small hug. I like the emoji. Google the word. Right, this trip. So I'm going to set it up now while we're testing it. So from an action from the ventilation unit. So I'll set a use interaction on that, because I want him to be over there. The ventilation unit has got, it hasn't got a walk to marker, but let me set one up. So let me create a walk to marker for that. Put it in position there, because he's going to crouch and kind of listen to the vent. And then from there, he's going to head off over here for this trip. So that one, let's just go interactions. Oh, I haven't set up the interaction yet. It's this ventilation unit. So interaction, use, walk to marker, face after using, get. Thanks, Fritz. Yeah, mug, not a hug, but I can have a hug anyway. Right, that is the start of this action. He's going to be doing other stuff, but I'm going to skip that for now. He's going to crouch, he's going to listen to the ventilation, he'll be able to hear voices, people are arriving. So then he walks back over to the skylight, and that's when he trips. So what I'm going to set up here is I'll leave a wait at the start so I can make sure he's in position and change that if I need to. I'm then going to have him walk to another marker. So character move to point. Is it move to point? Yeah, so he's going to reach a marker. So it's the player. We're going to have him walk. We're going to have him pathfind. We're going to wait until he gets to that point, and that's when we're going to do the swap. And because it's coming across this walkable area, he's not going to get caught up on anything. He should just make a beeline, straight line from there to where we're heading. It won't be walking exactly left to right, but we only have left and right walks. I haven't got any diagonals, so that shouldn't be a problem. We need a marker there to set where he's walking to, that we want to stick in there. So let me go and create a marker. Let's just shift the screen for a second. So let's just duplicate that ventilation point. Let's call it trip point. Let's move that into position. So round about there, I think is, oh no, we kind of had him on line with that, didn't we? Let's check. Let's just, so where does his trip start? Yeah, so we swap him out there where he's just kind of here near that brown thing. So we'll go for that. So he's just in front of that little brown thing there. We're going to make sure it's facing that way, just in case it tries to swap him out for his right-facing sprite. And that's where we're going to do the swap from. So just pull that action back on screen. So it's the trip point he's going to walk to. He's going to wait until he finishes, and then we're going to swap him out. So we will then go character. I don't know if I'm going to have to no, I shouldn't have to do anything else other than swap him. So we'll do that with an animate is player. We're going to play a custom animation. It's this one here called Clive Roof Trip. I'm pointing at that. Oh yes, you can see that on the screen. So actually spell it right, underscore roof trip. We're not putting a directional suffix because he's already facing a direction. You can, yeah, you can kind of blend transition, but I don't want to. It should just switch. So we want him to play that. Wait until that finishes. We don't want it to return to idle, because then he will reappear facing right there. So I think this isn't going to look good the first time. I'm not expecting it to be right. I'm expecting us to have to do some fiddling here. If we come back to my plan for the evening, we've worked out the pixel size, we've set up the sprite document, we've blocked out the basic trip, we've imported it as a new clip, and we're doing the cutscene logic now, and then we're going to check the alignment and try and work out what we need to do to get that pretty seamless. So let's go. Oh, I just need to make one change. I just thought he's going to walk over there, then immediately turn around again. So let's clicking on now. Get hold of that. So he will have walked to that. We're just going to have him wait there for a second, and then we're going to have him turn around and do his stuff. So let's see how that pans out. I don't expect it to be great, and I'm sure I've forgotten something. So if I click on that, he'll walk over there, wait a second, walk back, and then we'll see whether this works. Right, okay, so it does. So we've got a couple of issues. Main one is that it's not aligned where we thought it would be. Let's have a look again. So I wonder why that is. Why is it not aligned? I'm going to try and pause it. No, it goes into that mode yet. So you can see the first frame of that. It was fairly well aligned. So what I'm not sure about is why that doesn't quite look right. Let's stop that. Let's go and just run this focused so that when I pause it, it doesn't jump and change the scale. Let's have a look. To answer your question, Fritz, he's walking this one because it gave me a lot more space and a lot more time to when he first arrives. You're gonna be able to look in either window as the player, and then when you look at the ventilation shaft, he goes back over to this window because you can see where they're heading to. They're in a ball pool inside. It also is a bigger area for me to kind of have him fall through. It's a bit closer to the camera. It looks nicer through that one. But what I'm puzzled about is why it doesn't line up. Why is it not scaling correctly? So on that frame, his hands he's way further back. Why is that? So you can see where his hands are there. They're kind of like a third of the way through the window, and they're right back there. Meaning he's way off when he gets to there. That is strange. Oh, answer again to your question. It's not like blowing wind. He can hear people. So you've already looked through the windows looking for some people in this building, and then he puts his ear to the ventilation shaft and he can hear them talking. So then he goes back to the window and happens to trip over here on the way in. So yeah, he's not being blown in. He is walking and falling. But what I really don't understand is why that isn't lining up. No, it's all right. No need to apologise. Is he... We've definitely got the scale of him right. I used the scale of the character. This is exactly how I've set up some of the other ones where they swap him out. The only thing that is different here is he's mid-walk. And I don't see how that would make a difference, but so I think the best way to fix it, because I don't want to be I mean, this is a nice amount of frames to have to draw nicely. Like, I don't want to be filling in lots of gaps. What we want to do is just move the target to point a bit. Let's see if we can get it to like roughly line up. So if we just come forwards a bit, try it again like that. So this is the trial and error bit. We're just trying to make this as seamless as we can. So it comes back. So yeah, we're closer. So let's move it a little bit further. It's really far off where I expected this to be. To answer your question, Fritz, I haven't got a fixed release date for it yet because I'm doing this largely in my spare time. I don't want to kind of commit to something that I end up having to push back. In terms of the German translation for it, quite possibly, yeah. I know that there's a lot of fans of like these kind of games in Germany, so I will look to get a translation done. It just comes down to who I can find to translate it at no cost or lowest cost. So I'll look into that. It is something that I've considered because because yes, it would be nice if we can get it in a few different languages. Right, I've moved that again. I can't understand how it's so much further away than I thought it should be. See, that's pretty much spot on. Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. If any of the community you follow on Twitch or YouTube are interested in game testing and things like that, and translation, then by all means, yeah, I can send out some demo keys once I get first demos ready. People can look at. Right, I mean, that's not far off. So let me just watch it again. I'm seeing if it's a big jump when he starts. No, it's not actually. It's not too bad, that. Of course, there'll be sound effects and things as well, so I'm just watching it carefully to see whether, so I can come back a tiny touch, up a touch probably, but I don't notice a huge jump in the transition between the walk and the trip. He does slow down a little bit, it seems, because he's obviously walking diagonally. And then there's just those couple of frames where he walks that, but I think it's as good as I can probably hope to get out of that. Yeah, what I might do is, just to kind of sell the trip a bit more, I might have an item on the floor that kind of rolls out the way or something, or something that you've looked at before. Okay, so obviously his legs aren't going to stay there like that. He'll disappear so quickly you won't notice the little gap, whatever that gap ends up being between his legs. Okay, so the other thing that we'll do here, question there from Fritz, would you say it's harder to make a game for computer and Android because of the different resolutions? I mean, at this stage, I am probably just going to be releasing this on either Steam or itch. So I will be going for Steam, like release PC. For kind of the reason you mentioned, I've done a little bit of Android development before. If it's fairly straightforward with Adventure Creator, I know Adventure Creator has got all the tools you need through Unity to do exports for Android, but yeah, it's an extra headache that I probably don't have the time to do, so it'll probably be PC only to begin with, and I'll just see whether there's enough kind of interest to do a mobile version of it. But I am anticipating this is mouse driven PC game, really. Right. So yeah, I don't totally understand why this was so far off the point that I expected it to be. Still puzzled a little bit about why it's there effectively and not back there. Maybe it'll suddenly come to me one evening. I'll be like, oh right, that's why it's there. But that's the key bit of it done, or the lineup of it done. So just to recap, we've kind of proved that's going to work. I'll probably work on the full animation of it separately off stream, because it's going to be a bit tedious for me trying to draw all that. What I also need to think about is whether we're going to do this kind of him smashing through the window, or whether we're going to do this spinning like window frame. And I think both have their benefits. The smashing one is kind of less, I guess, difficult to animate, but the spinning one could be a little bit funnier and certainly less kind of like serious, like, oh my god, like he smashed through the window, but not entirely sure. Just reading your comment, Fritz, I think it's only for the different screen formats. So PC is nearly always 16:9, mobile have different displays. In Unity, I think my problem with the same screen design. Yeah, so this is designed to be 16:9 or 16:10, 1920 by 1080. So yeah, it's going to be slightly different with some borders if it is on a mobile. It's more, in some cases, whether the control scheme translates well, because I've got elements of this where you single click on items to look at them. So the hover is a big part of point and click generally, because you go around hovering on things to see what you can click on and investigate and use and things like that. And then on a touch device, of course, you kind of have to slide your finger around on it. And then the other thing that happens when you click is, if you imagine a touch is like a click, they start walking to that point. So I don't know how well that all translates, and that's what I mean by whether Adventure Creator has got, I guess, actions to deal with that. And also, like the inventory, I haven't got anything in it at the moment, but the inventory, single tap, you click and drag, which would be fine on a touch device, and drop it onto the item you want to use it on. Click and drag and drop onto other items to use them together. So it's all those control scheme things as well. I'll maybe get round to it, but it does depend largely on whether it's relatively successful anyway on Steam, and at that point I will think about a mobile version of it. But yeah. So I'm not sure, glass or spinning thing. I think I'll probably go with glass, because it gives some amusement to the next scene. So when he, let's just save that scene, when he comes down into the soft play area. Oh, I haven't actually set up soft play yet. That's something else I can do on this stream. So we have soft play. This is just the back plate of it. Oh, it's just these were on the last stream. The characters that are there. So he's kind of falling in from the roof of here and landing in the ball pit. The advantage of him having come through the glass is the glass can come through first, which be kind of fun. And those three guys that I talked about right at the start of the thing, they're in the ball pool with their carpet masks on, talking. That's what I was setting up. I was showing at the start, like them talking and kind of looking at each other. They were all set up. So it'd be kind of funny if he's preceded by a shower of glass, because I kind of almost want them not to react, these three guys. So the shower of glass comes in and they don't say anything at all. Clive obviously goes straight in the balls, the ball pool splash of balls bounce around, and then he pops up in the balls, and then they all look at him and say welcome, and that is the kind of reveal bit. So I think the falling glass might be the best way to do it. And given us maintaining the realism here. If he's falling in from there, then the glass doesn't splash out this way, it'll go in. It might have a few bits come firing out, but they can all be added to this clip as well. So let's, for example, create a new layer there. So the weird thing is, like, he's so far off it there. I expect that's the one where it would crack. So that's where you would kind of get the like the shattering of the glass happening. And all the bits would kind of fall through. And these cracks would continue out and radiate out. But I think any of this, because I've struggled, I don't know why it hasn't quite lined up like I expected. These are not going to line up if I export those out with this. So I think the crack will have to be a separate bit of animation that I lay over in Unity, so I can line it up exactly with the backdrop. So if I go to my sprite file for this backdrop, rooftop there. So I'm going to want to animate it on that crack, and then bring that in as a separate layer and just trigger that. So let's do a little bit of that. So the backdrop, let's call that glass crack. Do two things here. I'm going to create a frame. Just as a guide, really, of where the edge of that frame is. Oh, doing. Oh. Has to be above the skylights, otherwise we can't see it. So I just want a single pixel line to represent where the edge of that glass is. Some weird doubles there. There we go. Again, some strange doubles, just the angle that I drew it, I think. What I don't want to do is kind of have a drawn crack that sits over that edge. I want to make sure if I draw it onto this red, it's never going to encroach on the grey. So just being careful to make sure that guide is exactly right, like pixel perfect guide there. I'm going to fade that back a bit as well. You can see there I have gone over the grey on one of them. I know I'm being particularly pedantic there, but if it's sat on screen for a bit, because just to get that timing right, I think that might it might sit there with the cracks on for a bit. Sorry, Fritz, I meant missed a thing there. Maybe I'll make the scenes larger, include in a rectangle. Oh, right, yeah, for your Android one, yeah. I think the difficulty with any mobile development is, yeah, the difference in not just screen resolutions on different Android devices, but actual screen size as well. I've got like a Pixel 8 and it's a nice kind of sized device for my hands. But as soon as you get like the bigger pixels, bigger pixel Google Pixel phones and big Samsung phones, like your graphics will look very different on them, and deciding in terms of user experience how big an item needs to be kind of findable on a little screen, all of that's just, I mean, virtually impossible to test unless you've got lots of mobile devices and or you set up lots of virtual devices in Unity and test at all these different sizes. It'd be kind of just a lot of extra work, so that's why I'm not going there first of all. We'll see how the PC one goes first. So let's animate this glass crack. So I think what I'll do, because we've got lighting going on in the scene as well, I'm not quite sure the best way to do this, but he's going to kind of hit about there, and we'll have some cracks appearing as he hits, and this is going to be behind that sprite, so we don't need to worry too much. But I think in terms of how this is going to work, it would effectively punch out a brighter hole in that glass, I think. So as this radiates out and bits fall in, I'm not sure whether the cracks should be dark like that or they should be dark to light. Not quite sure how that's going to look. So let's see. We'll maybe start with something a bit less than that as he hits it. So we've only got a few seconds, or not even that, a few frames. So let's just delete these. I want to do that. Lock the frame. So the next frame we want to then extend out all of this. I think they're going to be bright. I think that's going to look better like that. These are going to kind of come off in shards. And join up and fall in kind of thing. Next frame, these will have hit the edge. It's going to smash very quickly. These are going to break and break. It'll connect. It'll radiate up to there. That'll break there. We'll leave that big bit of the pane in there. And then some of these bits. It's kind of making some of these are going to be falling effectively. So we're going to make them, are they going to go lighter? I think how this would work. So some of these bits, like that chunk there, is going to fall, and that chunk there is going to fall. So all that gets brighter. So loads of these bits, or they look like bits. Gravity is going to pull these things down. So with that bit, it's going to start falling into that gap. So then we're kind of concentrating on these falling bits on the next frame, I think. So there's probably a better way of doing this actually, because now I've got them on, these should be on a different layer really. If I create a new layer here, call this bits, and then just magic wand out all of these bits from this layer, and that, and that, and that, and that. All the lighter bits, going to copy them out of there. I'm going to paste them onto the layer above. So on this frame, hide it, go over here. Let's just rub all of them out on this layer, or fill, more sensible. Turn these back on. So now these are effectively all going to move down, look at they're falling. Let's make that layer semi-opaque. And then kind of rub out the bits of that layer where they're obscured by the shards that are still left. And then some of them, I think what we're going to want to do with the wand, some of the bigger bits will fall faster and maybe rotate a bit. Some of them are going to change colour slightly. I'm looking for which key I'm pressing here. Select colour and not colour and alpha. Oh no, that's alright actually. They would get lighter as they fell in, wouldn't they? Because they're falling into lightness, so it makes sense, kinda. So you can see them all falling down. I think what I might do before I copy that frame, just to keep some of those cracks going, I'll just add a little bit more detail there. some new ones developing. Actually, some of these here need to come away because he's kind of going through that side, isn't he? So get rid of that. Get rid of some of that. I just want to give him some space to fall through all of that. So some of these. Maybe split a couple of these as well. Yeah, that's looking all right, I think. Need another frame in there. All of that will be kind of out the way by this point. It's falling at speed. None of it should overlap that orange thing that I put in there for safety's sake. What's going on there? Got rid of that pixel. And why won't it do that? Oh. Had a little last minute. That bit there is going to fall. We'll do the same thing. I'm going to copy out the bottom layer, put it in the top layer. Because this is all an overlay that sits on top of the actual scene. So this Hasn't that pasted on there? Paste. Nice to see you, Fritz. Thanks for joining. Yeah, have a nice evening. Hope your tea goes nicely, whatever it is that you're making. If you call it tea, where you're from. Dinner, tea. It's a big debate in the UK whether you call it dinner or tea. Having that exact debate with my friends the other day. So what's happened here is I've got totally confused about what's on what layer. That isn't anything at all. What I need to do is paint onto this layer a similar shape to that, falling. And then from this layer, I need to remove that. It might seem like an awful lot of like tiny detail here, but if we're gonna kind of wait in this scene for a moment so that the player can kind of go, oh, what just happened? Like that moment of like realization of kind of working out what just happened. We just need a little bit more time here, a few more frames for that like realization to set in of what's just happened there. And then the last frame, I think, Alt N, we just delete that. Okay. So if I hide the backdrop now and the sky and the frame, then these are they're the frames that I'll go on top. So it's all just an overlay that sits on top of that window. Actually, notice that bit there. Let's just, is that on the backdrop? It's not. It's on the other layer. So let's just paint that out slowly. Just so we've got kind of clean, bright thing. I'm not totally sure what this is going to look like with the lighting, because there's lighting on top of this in Unity. So I think it's worth us doing that just to see how that's going to look. And we'll export that. We do need a blank frame first as well, because otherwise we're going to that's going to be visible all the time. So all of these frames, all of them, want to move along one, so we get this blank frame at the start here. I'm going to turn off everything else in the scene, and that's the bit of animation that we want to pull out to test out. So let's export sprite sheet. So with this one, we could export the whole size of it, the whole screen size. But I think we're going to want to position this round a bit. So I'm going to do trim sprite. So it'll basically take the biggest bit of the sprite, which is when it's fully cracked like that, set that as the size of the sprite, and then go right the way down to this empty one. The problem with that is I now don't know the width of these sprites, but I can just count them up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sprites. So remember that, 11. Actually, no, if I do trim cells, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do trim sprite. Yeah, so 11, no spacing, nothing else. Visible layers, all frames. Let's choose where that's going. So it's going into my sprites, rooms, 3. No, we must have rooftop. Let's call this broken glass. Export. Should have that. Give that a save. Let's go to the rooftop. Let's bring in that sprite. So it's in my sprites, rooms, rooftop, broken glass, sliced sprite template, and then open the editor. It's got ones that are outside the bounds. We're going to reslice it anyway. So there was 11 different things. That's the thing. So grid by cell count. So there's 1 row and 11 columns. And then that will be correct because it'll work out the size of the biggest thing and it'll go backwards and make sure they're all in the same size. So we do it by 11 by 1. That should all be perfect. And I'm going to put the anchor point in the middle. So 0.5 by 0.5, delete all the existing slices, reslice it. And now when you select them, you should see all their anchor points are in the middle. Apply that. So we want to get that in now as an animation that just sits there until we trigger it. And we're going to trigger it as part of the cutscene. When he goes through, we're going to trigger it at the right time, hopefully. So we need to make that into an animation clip. Same way as usual. I do it so many different ways and I forget. So I'm going to create an animation clip of that broken glass. Call it broken glass, actually. Broken glass, all lowercase. Put it in the My Anim Clips folder. I always forget. And then this is the tricky bit. So I'm going to drop it into the scene. Oh, I don't want to do it like that. No, because that's just stuck it on there. I want to create an empty clip. Call that broken glass. Broken glass, even. Make sure that's in there. Reset its transform so it's 1 by 1 by 1 because all of these are the same. This thing is the thing that's scaled. And then onto that broken glass, drop the animation clip and it'll give it a controller. And you'll see its default anim clip is this broken glass clip. We want to make sure it's not looping, which is fine. I mean, actually, I'll set it to looping so we can see what happens here. We'll go to the scene. What I'm going to do, if I click play on that, it should just be playing automatically. You'll be able to see that thing. It's not going to be in the right place or anything, but so it's playing Broken Glass, but we can't see it, which must mean it is not on the right layer. Oh, it's because it doesn't have a sprite renderer, right? Yes. So a sprite renderer there. If we take oh no, you can't do it that way, can you? I've messed this up so many times before. How did I set up the door? So the door in the shop is exactly the same thing. It has a sprite. Let's go and remind myself of that. So shop floor has a sprite. So this door here is an animation. Sliding door there. So it's got a sprite renderer with the first frame of the animation on, and then it's got the animator controller with the animated bit on, and you can see it's got a closed door, an open door, a sitting still door and things like that. Whereas this one, we just want it to sit in its initial state, so we do need to use one of the frames to do that. So let's go back to the rooftop. This might be a way to line it up actually. So if we go to that Broken Glass, and in the sprite renderer, let's get the last frame where it's fully smashed and it goes right to the edges. Let's drop that onto the sprite renderer, because then we can see it, and then we can use that to line this up nicely with where it needs to be. So I'm just looking at the way these pixels kind of tuck in there. That tucks in, nothing overlaps. So that looks fine. Look down a little bit actually, a little bit of an overlap there. So that looks like it's in the correct position. It's in the wrong order, we can see now. So if we bring that up so it sits on top of it, then yeah, that looks all right. And then we can actually swap this out for Broken Glass 0, which is the empty one. Oh, now this is interesting. Ah, it hasn't sliced the empty frame. Why is that? Is it because it knows there wasn't anything on that frame? And when it made the sprite sheet though, we saw it, didn't we? Let's have a look. My sprites, rooms. Rooftop. Broken Glass. Let's actually just look at the PNG. I can see from the preview, I know it's very small there, but there is a blank frame on it. So maybe Unity does something so-called clever, because the sprite editor has, yes, look, so it knows there isn't any frames there, like pixels there, so it's ignored this first frame, which is a bit annoying because I don't want it to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, 11. So it's ignored that frame. Keep empty rects, just set that. Slice again. There we go, we've all learned something. If you keep empty rectangles, then it'll include any that don't have anything in. So you've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Problem is, when I created that broken glass clip, I've got a feeling that won't have all 10. There's no way of checking. It really annoys me, that. Oh no, that's blank. So it must maintain a link between this and the frames it has. Right, it seems to be fine. The main thing is it's not showing anything there, so it can kind of sit. Oh, it's going to play through now, isn't it? Because it's automatically set to play through. But yeah, so you can see that it's playing through there at least. Yeah, and it's lighting okay because of the Unity light that's lighting it. It looks fine to me. Although there does seem to be, seems a bit weird. Some of the things that are falling in front of. Did I just not delete them? Have I just been sloppy? Let's come back to here. What have I done? The ones that fall down. Oh yes, they're overlaying it. I haven't deleted them properly. So let's just clean it up. If we're gonna do it, we should do it properly. So any of these that go out of that boundary need to be so like that. All of these ones. Because they're kind of, because it's an overlay, none of those, that one, anything that goes over into the grey shouldn't be visible. Because like they're falling down behind the bit that's left over. Revealing other things. Because I was doing it over that bright yellow, I wasn't really realising I wasn't rubbing these out as they went. Because that one that falls down there in the middle should be gone by then, so that needs to be deleted. Similarly with that. It's on that layer in it. It is. It's clear by there though, isn't it? Yeah, it looks better. Similarly with that one there, it goes over the edge, so it needs deleting from there. Right, so we shouldn't have any hanging over into the edges now. There's one there. Okay, we can re-export that. File, export, sprite sheet. Export it again, overwrite it, go back to Unity, and it should be sorted. It should just automatically load it in now. I'll just have another look at that. See, it's not. Yeah, it's better. There was loads showing up here that I could just see was in the wrong thing. Okay. So that's kind of ready to play, but then we need to decide when it plays. At the moment, it's obviously automatically playing. And that's because this animator has got this entry point set up to automatically play the broken glass one. What we should do is it should go and either play just the first frame. So we can do that by creating another version of the animation clip and call it broken glass waiting, and then create another one called broken glass broken. And it seems like daft, but if I drag that in and I drag the waiting one in, oh, dog walk time, you can hear the dogs barking, that is what it is. Go to this animation of the waiting one, I just want that to just sit with the first frame where it's empty, so I'll get rid of all the other frames. So this waiting one is just going to sit waiting like that. And we want that to be the entry point. So we make a transition to there, set that as the default state. Actually, you don't need that transition, you don't need to do both. You just set that as default state. That is the one where it's actually breaking. I mean, it might make more sense to call that breaking glass, but so it's just going to sit and wait there. We're going to tell it in the cutscene to play this custom one, and then it'll automatically transition to staying as the broken one. So the broken one, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to delete all of the frames apart from the end one. And it's just going to sit playing that frame. That's how I tend to set these up, because then I've got a bit of control over what's happening. So it should just sit in this broken glass waiting state, so long as in here we've got the controller broken glass is set up. Yeah, we've got the sprite renderer, the default sprite renderer, it's on frame 0 anyway, so it should just sit there doing nothing. And if when you're running it, you can see there it's just in that glass waiting frame. It's just hammering through that frame, 12 frames a second. And I'm going to tell it to go to this broken glass one, and then it'll drop out of there into being static. So, I mean, you could simulate that by, you could set up like a little parameter and switch it to see it happen, but we might as well just put it straight into the cutscene. So let's go to our cutscene, the trip. Oops. Oh, I didn't actually end up using that. What did I do then? Oh, I attached it to this action, didn't I? The ventilation one. Don't want to do that really. These two items, let's copy them out of there. Let's go to the trip action, let's paste them into there. Have its weight one up there. Delete these from the other one. Oops, delete. And have it run that. There's a good reason for this, because later on in this ventilation unit, other stuff's going to happen. So we just want to run an action list from the scene, and it's that trip one that we want to do. We want to wait till it finishes, and then we're going to do something else at the end of that. Okay, so let's just set up correctly. So in this trip one, when we play this custom animation, because we're waiting till it finishes then doing something else, we're going to create an action that does two different things at the same time. So we do, what do we do? Run in parallel, that's the one. We're going to run two things in parallel. First thing we're doing is, it doesn't matter which way around they are, but we're doing that animation. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that, because we're going to do an object animate. We're going to play a custom animation. Is it sprite mechanism? Play custom. The animator, the broken glass animator that's in the scene. The clip name we're going to play is that broken glass one there. It's oh, it's behind my. Move that out. It's called broken glass. Realise that might not have been on the stream at all, because I'm squishing everything onto a little monitor here. So yeah, just to recap, that entry point is going to the broken glass waiting, and then we're going to trigger this broken glass, and then that'll automatically fall to the last frame of the broken glass one. So the thing we're going to play is called broken, I keep spelling that wrong, broken underscore glass. But what we're going to want to do is we want that to wait a little bit, because this custom animation takes like maybe a second before before you want the glass to smash. So I'll put in a second there, we'll tweak it and see what it looks like. But let's play it through and see. Zoom back out. Right, so a second's too late, basically. So we want to, and I think the other thing I can see there, which is wrong, is I think it's in front of him. Yeah, it is, yeah. So one, because the pivot point is incorrect, but more importantly, the custom animation of Clive falling is on the layer that Clive is on. So this needs to be lower than Clive. I can't think, by default, does Clive get pushed onto, what layer does he go onto? He's on 0. So we're going to need to do just some layer sorting on some of this. So the backdrop is on -20. The broken glass can be on -10. I don't think there's any other things. The skylights are on 0, but it doesn't matter because Clive walks around them. So that should be behind him now, behind his sprite. And you'll be able to tell because those red feet that I filled in, they should be sat on top of it. We didn't see it at all. Why didn't we see it? Oh, right, yes. It's because the skylights. So the skylights are on 0. Oh no, this might end up having to use a sorting group, and I don't like sorting groups. So the broken glass is behind all of them, but if I put it on 1, then it'll be in front of Clive. So the skylights, because they need to go in front of Clive because he walks around them. So this is one of those cases where I need to do a sorting group, which is frustrating because someone asked me about it the other week. In fact, it might have been Mike. Somebody asked me about sorting groups, and I demonstrated it again, and then I've already forgotten. So let's get a sorting group. And it's on the skylights. So I'd made this office desk once. So I'm going to add a new sorting layer. And we're going to call it skylights. This is probably going to cause all kinds of problems that I haven't considered. So you put that in the sorting group called skylights. You also put the broken glass in the same sorting group. Set that to 0. So these exist together. but we put that in front. Excuse me, sudden sneeze. We put that in front. I think that's how you do it. Rooftop skylights. That on top. I'd be able to tell actually if I drop that broken glass 10 on there. So if I set that to 0, yeah, it goes behind it. I set it to 1, it comes in front of it, but together they should be sorted as the skylights, so Clive would still walk around them. Problem is the sorting pivot point is in the middle of this bit of animation, so yeah, now that's going in front of Clive, which is what I expected to go wrong. Yeah, I wonder if there's a better way of doing this. I might have to go and look at the office again and work out how I did that. So let's save that scene as it is. Let's go back to the office, because it worked in there. I was probably unsure of why it worked in the first instance. Office. So yeah, this mug and all these other things are part of a sorting group on that desk, because Clive needs to be able to walk behind it just the same as he does those skylights. So I had it as one item. Oh, I didn't actually create a... These all went inside. So that had a sorting group on, but it was on the default layer and it was set as 0. These don't have any sorting group things on, but they're all treated as childs of that. Okay. That's confusing. And these have all got their own orders in the layer on that sprite renderer to get them in front of things. So we basically just need the sorting group with no specific new layer on it. I wonder why so I created an office desk one when I was trying to solve it before, I think, but it's not necessary. You leave it on that. And then the items here, you sort them here in the sprite renderer as to where you want them in that group, and you put them all as a child. Right, let's go and do that to the rooftop then. So we've got the skylights, we just set that to default. We take the broken glass, remove its sorting group because you don't need it. You drag that as a child of that, and then you set that to 1 to make sure it's in front of the skylights, but this is all sorted as a group. Hopefully that works. Hopefully, fingers crossed. If it doesn't, I'm coming to the end of the stream anyway, so right now it's stood in front of it. That's great. Let's trigger this and hopefully we'll see his red boots in front of the crack. Lovely. It did work. There we go. Answer to Mike or whoever it was who asked this. That is how you do it. Again, I've explained how to do it and I'll probably forget again. But that's all correct now. That is, apart from the fact the crack appears far too early, obviously. So let's do that again. Obviously the crack doesn't reset either, so yeah. Thank you, Mike. Cheers, and no need to apologise. It's been 2 hours, I think. There, yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, takes a while to set this kind of thing up, but I think by the time it's all picked together, it should look good. But thanks for joining, Mike. Much appreciated. see you on the next one, hopefully. See you later. So I'm going to finish up soon anyway, because I think the rest of this now is about just drawing the actual proper graphics. I'm just going to get the timing right for that, because it's not a second, it is a few frames before it smashes. So let's just alter that in the timing in this strip. So let's say 0.2 seconds before it plays the smash. Too early. Trial and error. Half a second. Because one of the frames, it's difficult to tell from the detail whether he's actually hit the glass or not. See, that'll be fine, because he'll be gone as you see the last bits of thing falling. So that looks fine. I think the last thing I could probably do with, just so when I come back to this and start animating it, we need an empty frame here as well that hasn't got his feet in. So let's just do Alt N, delete that. We want to make sure that he's completely disappeared. It's actually been helpful that I left those red boots there, but we want to make sure he's gone by then, so that you can see the glass, the last bits of the glass falling down. So let's export that. I'll delete that. That was where I was talking about the crack, wasn't it? So File, Export, Sprite Sheet. Just make sure I'm not going over the other one. Hi, that guy Akashi. Thanks for joining. Oh, you've been on before actually. I do remember the name. Yeah, it's been quite. I don't know how long you've been on the stream. It doesn't tell me how long people have been on until they comment. But yeah, it's starting to come together. It is just the block out of trying to get this lined up, a custom bit of animation that flows from a adventure creator cutscene. So it's almost there. I just need to make sure that I'm not about to copy over live roof trip. That's correct. Yes, export, because I want that blank frame at the end. So if I just go and check Clive roof trip, got the animation. Don't think, yeah, it will be the same thing. When I've imported this, I didn't import it with that include blank rect thing, so he'll be missing that last frame. So let's come back to characters, Clive, roof trip. We can see it's got it there, but the last frame has got his red feet on. So I want to go to there, go to the sprite editor. Yeah, we can see it's got, so if I click each of them, but you can't click that one. So it hasn't included the last frame. So it is that same thing. If we go keep empty rects, click slice again, and it gives us that empty one that we need. So apply that. I'm just seeing it jump down here then. So there should be a blank frame in that, hopefully. There's a 10th frame there that's blank. There's his red boots. So did the roof trip, does it tell you how many frames it's got? I don't think it does. Well, let's just play it and see. I'm hoping to not see the red boots at the end, and then we'll just catch the last couple of bits of glass falling down. Well, that hasn't worked, does it? Because we can clearly see his red boots. So let's work out what's happened. I think I know. I think it's just where he's where I've pulled the animation clip, this roof trip in onto the animator controller. I'm going to need to find his animator controller now. Player Clive. Just lock that. So when I dragged it in here, this Clive roof trip, at that point, I think it must store the frames. The weird thing is it didn't do it with the glass. It didn't do it this way with the glass. I wonder if it's safer if I just recreate this. So, just to make sure it has definitely got that blank frame in there. So let's create a new animation clip and call it Clive Roof Trip 2. Just so I don't lose track of which is which. Drag that into there. Get it this folder as well, because I'm trying to be neat and tidy. Put it in anim clips. So there should be 2 in there now. So Roof Trip 2. That is the one that should have a blank final frame. Yes, it has. It's got a blank final frame there. I'm just about to see that. It's just behind my webcam portrait. Move it out of the way. You can see it's just got one blank frame at the end there, which is exactly what I was looking for. So I'll just put myself a bit lower, actually. That might be better. So hopefully now we won't have his red boots at the end, and then when it comes to me actually drawing the character properly rather than just this red outline, I'll know that it'll be no, it hasn't played at all. Oh, I know why. Because it's a named clip that gets played, so it is naming Clive Roof Trip there. It needs to be Roof Trip 2 now. I'll leave that as it is because it'll remind me while it's there. I'll delete Roof Trip in a second. Lovely. Right. And there is just one issue. It is the same issue. So I can see, I mean, I'm being really picky here. There's a bit of glass there on the skylight. You can see that bright yellow bit of glass. That isn't the last frame of the animation. So I thought that it had sorted it with the glass break one, but it hasn't. It should look like that with no little yellow frame on it. So the same thing did happen when I realised it wasn't using the blank frame at the start, but it hasn't added that 10th frame. So let me just replace that, and I think that I'll call it a day at that. So that was in same issue, the broken glass bit. It's this broken glass one is missing a frame, which is the very last frame. It's got his blank frame at the start, but it's now chopped off a frame. I don't think there's any way to just drag in a single frame. See if there is. Let's go into my sprites, rooms, rooftop, broken glass. So it's this frame 10 that doesn't. So frame 9 has got that little bit of glass on. It looks like a backwards letter F, and that one hasn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't let you just drag. Yeah, when it creates these anim clips, it is basically these sprites all strung together, but it's a bit weird that it doesn't let you just drag that in. So I'm gonna have to create it again. So let's just do it, get it out of the way, create animation clip. I'm going to call it breaking glass this time because that's what I should have called it before. Make sure that goes into my anim clips, and then in the animator controller, which is this broken glass one there, it's this broken glass that wants to be the breaking glass one instead. So I can leave it there and just drag instead the breaking glass, where's it gone, in as the animation clip that's playing, because this is the one that's being referenced, its name's being referenced in here. Play custom broken glass. So if I wanted to, I could call that breaking glass and just make sure that that name is exactly the same as the name of that in the animator controller. So that should be that fixed then. I think that's probably going to be it, because I think off stream I will I'll spend the time drawing the actual sprite now that I know it's gonna or it looks like it's gonna line up and everything. It looks like I'll have the effect that I want. So one last test, trip, smash, and he's gone. It's still there. Don't know why. Oh, because the broken glass broken took the last frame, that's why. Oh, that's annoying, isn't it? So broken glass broken has got frame 9 instead of frame 10 on it, because I deleted it. Yeah, I'll fix it. I'll fix it off the stream. It's not a biggie. We can work that out. So thank you very much, those who've joined today and had a few comments and chats on there. Really appreciate everyone who's following and following along with this, and has subscribed on YouTube and followed on Twitch and things like that. I do really appreciate it, and it does make a difference, especially to the amount of likes that I managed to get on some of these videos. Next Sunday I'm not going to be around. Oh, there's my phone ringing. I should probably go and get that. So thanks very much for watching. I hope to speak to you soon. Cheers.